All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. My name is Barbara Moreno and I am with goDCgo School Services. And today we're going to talk about the future of student travel, specifically as it pertains to travel during the pandemic. For those of you who haven't been to a webinar of mine, I love to start every webinar with an icebreaker and really get to know my audience a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot these polls out to you. So first up, I want to know if during coronavirus, COVID-19, have you found yourself walking or biking more? And then secondly, I will also shoot out a poll of, do you plan to use these modes for your commute when school reopens? So let me go ahead and launch these polls. And I'll give you about 30 seconds or so to answer them. Okay, let me go ahead and close and do these results. So for the first question, oops, sorry about that. There we go. It looks like for the most part, most of us haven't been walking. That's not a terrible surprise. We have been pretty homebound and it's getting pretty cold right now. So not too big of a surprise. So I'm curious in the future, let me go ahead and hide these results. Oh my God, there we go. Sorry about that. Getting some double clicks here and launch my second poll. And I'm curious if you plan to walk or bike more once school reopens. I'll go ahead and launch this poll. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close it, share these results. And it looks like a little bit of a closer split for this one. Looks like once school does begin, we are planning on walking and biking more, and that's really great to hear because that's what we're going to talk about today, or one of the many things we'll talk about today. Go ahead and head this poll. Oh, wow, this is a very finicky thing. Apologies for that. And let's go ahead and start talking about the agenda for today. So I'm going to touch on the Fall 29 transportation survey results. We did really talk about how students used to commute back in Fall 2019 in the before times. Then we'll talk about what those results have, any implications on the future of student travel in 2021, and of course, how you can support students that use these sustainable modes in your reopening plans. And last but not least, we'll have time for questions. So first up, we're going to talk a little bit about goDCgo and school services. So if you're new to goDCgo, welcome. We're glad to have you. We are an initiative of the District Department of Transportation. We are a leading resource for transportation information and options. I highly recommend going to goDCgo.com. We have a plethora of information on every mode, so highly recommended. And why do we have such a plethora of information on all these transportation modes? Well, our goal is to decrease traffic congestion, improve air quality, and create a better quality of life in the DC area. And I'll touch a little bit more on each of those topics in a future slide. Now, when it comes to goDCgo School Services, obviously we're a smaller part of the larger goDCgo program, and we are here to provide complimentary consultations to all DC schools. So whether you are a public school, private school, or charter school, we are here to help you. One, implement and enhance commuter benefit programs based on your staff needs, including developing telework programs. We know teachers can't necessarily telework in the future, but there are office staff and admin staff who got their first taste of telework during these last couple months and might be interested in figuring out a way to do that once or twice a month in the future. So we're here to help you with that. And of course, we're here to help you with the reason you're here today, which is assisting students and families in using sustainable transportation. And the reason I don't have my camera on is because I knew this slide was going to show up and it has my photo on it. Hi again, my name is Barbara Moreno and I'm the Client Services Manager for the schools program here at goDCgo. Two things that you should know about me is one, I spent about half of my career in the education world, so very excited to have this job and continue to help teachers and students. And the reason I kind of switched over into this world, into the transportation world, is that I have given myself the moniker of public transit's #1 fan. I say this because I've been using transit since I was about 4 years old. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been transit dependent for a very long time, and so has my family. In fact, I had a quite a long commute when it came to high school. I commuted for about an hour and a half each way to my high school, and I used public transit to do it. So one thing that has been on my mind these last couple months is if everything that's happening right now had happened 15 years ago, I would be in the situation right now where I would need support as a student figuring out how to ride public transit and use other sustainable modes during the pandemic, which is why I'm very excited to do this presentation for you all today. So earlier I said I was going to talk a little bit more about why goDCgo promotes sustainable transportation. So here are the three main reasons we do this. One, congestion, right? Congestion equals traffic. Traffic is no fun, right? Delays you, doesn't get you any faster to where you want to go. And so the reason for that is, right, more cars on the road, the slower everything kind of goes. So if we can reduce congestion, there's fewer cars on the roads, and the faster all the remaining vehicles, so bikes, buses, all that good stuff, the faster they can get to their destination. Air quality. If you didn't know, now you know. So the transportation industry is responsible for about 30% of global CO2 emissions, and a lot of that comes from personal vehicle use. So less vehicle use and better air quality. They kind of go hand in hand. And of course, lastly but not least, wellness. I think, right, harkening back to the poll question at the beginning, right? If we're not commuting, we're not taking sustainable transportation, we're not getting out more, we're not walking around more. And it is true that, and it's been studied many times, that people who use sustainable transportation get more exercise than those who drive around everywhere. So again, very much ties in with the icebreaker at the beginning, right? We want people to use sustainable transportation because it does get people out there, gets people active. All right, the fall 2019 survey results. So what we're calling and dubbing the state of the school commute. So back in fall 2019, DDOT, the District Department of Transportation, did a school transportation survey. We surveyed public, private, and charter schools. We had three versions of the survey, one for school staff, right? So that included teachers, any kind of support staff, admin as well. We also interviewed families and asked them specifically to report on how their youngest child travels to school, / right, how they go to school with their youngest child. And then we also interviewed middle and high school students directly. We had about 8,000 participants over the three surveys. So we got a lot of really good data. I'm excited to share some top lines with you here in this section. So for middle and high school students, so we asked them back in fall 2019, again, in the before times, how they get to school, right? What modes do they use? And here are the top 5 modes that they chose. Heads up, this isn't supposed to total 100%. They were allowed to choose multiple modes if it was appropriate. So, but as you can see, sustainable transportation is 3 out of the 5 modes that middle school students use to get to school, with public transit kind of reigning supreme for them, right? 58% of them are using Metrobus, and another 41% of them are using Metro Rail to get to and from school, right? And we can expect that those patterns will probably sustain as students start getting back into the classroom. All right, for elementary students. So this is the survey when we ask families to report on how their youngest child is getting to and from school. And for them, as you can see, even more sustainable transportation when it comes to elementary students. So we have about 35% of them walking, another 14% using Metrobus, another 4.7% biking to and from school, and another 2.8% using Metro Rail. So 4 out of the 5 top modes for elementary students and families are sustainable, right? And we can, again, expect that to roughly stay the same in the future. So another little quick poll. I'm curious if this information surprised any of you. And you don't have to unmute yourself, but if you want to type in the chat box anything that particularly surprised you, feel free to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll first. All right, let me go ahead and close this poll, share these results. Oh no, Sorry about that. Okay, so it looks like for the most part, most of you were not surprised, which checks out. You guys are weathered school staff. You are very in touch with how students commute to and from school. But a few of you were surprised. I know I was personally surprised by how many middle and high school students use rideshare to get to and from school. That was personally surprising to me. Let me go ahead and hide this poll. Oops, sorry about that. And let's get to the meat of the presentation, right? How can you support these students as they use these sustainable modes to get to and from school while there's still a pandemic going on next year? So first up, as you saw, for middle and high school students and even elementary students, metro rail and bus were really big for them, right? They use that a lot to get to and from school. So there's a couple ways you can support students who rely now solely on metro rail and metro bus to get to and from school. First, you want to make sure they have a current kids rate free card. They do change and become new every year. The most recent ones expired on September 30th, right? So I highly recommend going to kidsratefree.dc.gov and getting that information and getting the latest cards to make sure that there's no snafu on the first day of school for them getting to school on time. Additionally, you want to provide PPE like a washable mask and hand sanitizer. That's just really good way to kind of support them, show them that you care about their safety. And while you can't control what happens on the train, you can advise students to maintain 6 feet distance from other passengers. And most importantly, for students that take Metro Rail and Metro Bus, and again, solely depend on Metro Rail and Metro Bus to get to and from school, you want to be flexible with arrival times, right? There have been delays with Metro during the pandemic, right? They haven't been used to commuting in a very long time on top of it as well. So being able to be flexible in the first month or two as students, again, get back into the grind, get back into that routine. This will be kind of one of the best ways that you can support them is to be flexible with those arrival times and let them know that, hey, we understand, right? Things are all new for all of us again, right? It's kind of like learning to walk again. No, we're here for you. Now let's figure out a system that works best for you. Right. And there will be parents who will choose to drive. Some of them, right, will be coming from very far away, and it makes the most sense to drive. Others, though, will be coming from a much shorter distance, right? Maybe a mile, even less than a mile, right? And so we want to encourage those parents that are driving their children to school and live pretty close to the school to instead consider biking or walking to really help with pickup and drop off congestion, right? The last thing you want is a bunch of cars in front of the school for a very long time, just waiting, right? Again, there will be new systems and protocols in place as kids get tested, get questioned, right? All of that stuff, right? You don't want a bunch of cars just lined up in front, right? So one way that you can do and help support biking and walking at your school is to do a biking or walking school bus. Now, these are really great options to help students who live within walking distance of school really feel more comfortable, right, using that as their primary mode to get to and from school. All right, and so since you'll be encouraging walking and biking, and of course you already probably have a population of students who walk and bike, how can you support them? Well, assistance can look and come in a variety of ways. So one, you can help students access bikes or bike accessories, right? That's kind of one key step that you can do to help students feel comfortable biking. I'd also recommend providing classes of some kind. The Washington Area Bicyclist Association actually has some really great videos and tips for beginning riders, right? So young elementary students. So highly recommend going to the website, waba.org to get that information. Uh, Additionally, to support, right, those bike trips, you want to make sure that you have enough bike racks at your school. That's actually one of the big reasons people choose not to bike someplace because they know that they won't find a safe place to park their bike. I'm sure that applies for students and families as well. So being able to have enough bikes at school will be a great way to increase biking at your school. And if you're interested in getting more bike racks, please get in contact with me. I can help walk you through that process as well. And to support students who walk to school, one thing that would help would be developing walking routes, right? Sometimes there's an intersection that might not be the best. Parents feel unsafe about it. If you can say, hey, like from this area to this area, these are the best walking routes to get to our school, that will help one, students and parents feel much more comfortable and much more safe. And of course, right, encouraging parents to create bike and walk pools, that kind of, again, makes it more flexible for everyone, right? So instead of having 10 parents drive 10 individual cars to get their children to and from school, instead you can have 2 parents walk a group of 10 students, right, that all roughly live in the same area to and from school. They can take turns, right? It ends up being, again, more flexible, get more activity, lots of good benefits to walking and bike pools. And of course, you want to make sure you advise on safety precautions that they should be taking, right? So maintaining 6 feet distance, right? Especially in walk pools and bike pools, just because you're outside doesn't mean you shouldn't maintain 6 feet distance from each other. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear a mask and carry hand sanitizer. These are all extremely good precautions, whether you're taking public transit or just walking and biking around. Right, and carpooling. So there are some families and students who rely on carpooling to get to and from school. That's their main mode, right? That's what works best for them. That's what's been working best for them, and that's probably what they're going to continue to do in the future as well. So what are ways that you can support these families who rely solely on carpooling to school? Well, there's going to be, right, almost like a bigger number required, right? Because before, if you carpooled, you could take 4 kids with you. It wasn't that big a deal, right? Obviously, we're recommending if you are choosing to carpool with a significantly reduced number of students, right? So if you normally carpool with 4, we recommend only carpooling with 2 students, right? Because of that, you'll need more parents. So being able to host kind of virtual events that will help parents find each other and find those carpooling buddies will be really helpful. An app that is also very helpful would be Carpool to School. They have a whole kind of system for setting up partnerships. If you want more information on that, please do reach out to me as well. Happy to connect you with them. Additionally, right, there'll be some new safety measures when it comes to carpooling during the pandemic, right? So you want to do a daily check-in, right? And so it can be a little awkward, but it's not the end of the world. You just kind of have to ask some questions, right? You've probably been asked them yourself. I know whenever I need something fixed in my apartment, I have to answer like, right, did I travel recently? Do I have a fever? Right? Have I ever shown any symptoms? Right? Those are all really good questions to just ask at the beginning. And it's, again, another really good kind of like checkpoint, right? Before getting to school and kind of helping to catch some of those. You want to lower your windows, of course. Again, right, increase that air circulation. Of course, require a mask. Again, nothing changes, mask everywhere. Um, and of course, right, keeping hand sanitizer in a central location is also a really great option. Another thing that you can do is make sure you're running the car's ventilation system on non-recirculation mode. And of course, as I said earlier, right, limit the number of passengers to allow for physical distancing. So if you normally did 4, 5, right, recommend going down to 2. And so those are all strategies to do by mode. Of course, you are a school. You do not have only one population of students that travel on one specific mode. You have a variety of student populations who travel on various modes. So how do you kind of pull a plan together to really help support them, right, when your school reopens next year? So here are 2 strategies that I used with the schools that I work with goDCgo School Services. So the first one is developing a sustainable transportation plan. So this is a really great way to take a holistic approach to planning around transportation for your school. So how it works is, right, we kind of gather some information about your school. This is all available on goDCgo.com, so you can fill it out on your own. But if you need assistance, I am more than happy to walk you through the process. But basically, you can kind of, right, you'll see all the modes, you'll see various strategies attached to each of those modes, how you can increase, right, the use of that mode, support people better who use that mode, and you just kind of get to pick and choose, right? It's kind of like a menu option. You say, okay, well, I want to do this to support biking. I want to do that to support walking. I want to do that to support Metrobus, right? And you kind of get to pick and choose and develop a sustainable transportation plan for your school. And so that really helps guide you as you kind of start developing these reopening plans. And of course, right, transportation is going to tie in very importantly into those plans. Relatedly, is you'll want to assign a school transportation coordinator, right? So this will be your key person, right? The person who one will probably do and fill out and implement the sustainable transportation plan, right? Working with me to kind of get those strategies in place, right? So that'll be one one role of the STC would be to be goDCgo's main contact, and another one would be to implement the school's sustainable transportation plan. But also, it's a great position to have in your school. It doesn't have to be one, right? If you feel that you need to have one separately for staff compared to students, right? Um, it is a very flexible position, but it is always good to have a go-to person. One, it helps me relay information a lot faster. I'm getting a lot of information. I want to make sure I get it out to the right person who can then disseminate it at the school. And this person, right, in disseminating that information and doing these activities and implementing these strategies and doing the sustainable transportation plan, they will be promoting wellness of school staff and students and families, and they will also be promoting active transportation like biking and walking. And those are all really great things to do, regardless of pandemic or not. And with that, I wanted to thank you all for coming, of course, and open it up to any questions that you might have. There is a little question box in the GoToWebinar thing, so please go ahead, type in any question you might have. All right, I'm seeing one question come in. How will Metro manage the need for more trips with fewer people on each vehicle to maintain social distancing? That is a great question. Metro has been currently running trains at a more frequent level. So the standard rush hour trains, which roughly align with school hours, have been running pretty frequently currently. So I have personally taken them, and they've been about 3-4 minute headways, right? So 3 to 4 minutes between train cars, and they've, at least when I've been on, have rarely been packed or full. So I think Metro has been taking that as seriously as possible. They also recommend, right, if it is crowded, again, that's kind of why I mentioned, right, really being flexible with arrival times, right? There will be options and not options, sorry, opportunities for those buses and trains to be full, and the best choice would be for the student to not be on the bus or train at that moment, instead wait for the next one. So right, again, being flexible with those arrival times will help a lot. Okay, did anyone else have any other questions? Okay. I want to make sure I give enough time if anyone has any questions and they're typing them in. Okay, I'm seeing another one come in. Sorry, give me a second while I make the box a little bigger so I can read the full question. What greater detail can you share about Metrobus and Metro Rail support with masks and social distancing? So in terms of using masks and social distancing within Metrobus and Metro Rail, no masks or face coverings are required on trains. And I would say again, for the most part, as a person who has been recently riding transit, I would say mask coverage is pretty good for the most part. So that has been one way they've been doing it. Another thing they've been doing, I know they were doing it for a while. I'm not sure if they're doing it right now, but they were handing out masks at certain stations, right, to help people that may not have had one, be able to obtain one. They also have hand sanitizer stations. And in terms of kind of like social distancing, I would say most people have been extremely good about entering and sitting distant from other passengers on metro trains. People tend to not crowd, at least when I have been on, they tend to be like, okay, well, someone's sitting here, I'm gonna go sit all the way over there. So we're not sitting next to each other. So that has been one way. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, as of right now, they have been running trains more frequently during the day. So due to that, there has been more opportunities for social distancing because the trains have a less chance of being crowded, and you have more time to actually be able to, right, be able to just sit on the train and not have to worry about social distancing per se. Okay. Oh, sorry, this is a weird little box for questions. All right, I'm seeing another one come in. Has Metro considered a campaign to families in anticipation of the return to in-person school? That is a really great question. Unfortunately, I have not heard anything quite yet. I would assume that that would be again, knowing how many students rely on Metrobus and Metro Rail to get to and from school, and again, solely rely on Metro Rail and Metrobus to get to and from school. Um, I, or again, right, can't speak with certainty, but I would say that's probably something they are hopefully considering on their part to make sure that they can disseminate information. I will say I'll definitely be sharing this information in the follow-up email that you guys will receive with the recording um, and the PowerPoint slides. goDCgo has developed a commute with care to school materials, and we do talk about safety precautions that you can take. Again, in more detail, kind of like a nice flyer that you can hand out to families, and we do have them in both English and Spanish right now, which is great. So I'll definitely make sure to include that because I'm not sure if Metro has considered that campaign, but I know that we here at goDCgo have definitely considered that campaign. And so we've created these commute with care to school materials, and we cover all the modes that we talked about today. So biking, Metrobus, Metro Rail, carpooling, and how you can take specific safety precautions and any information that you should know about the current kind of like phase 2 plans of Metro. So that's a great question. Metro, I don't know if Metro have. I know we here at goDCgo have, and we will definitely be sharing that information. And that information is also on our website, goDCgo.com. If you go to the resources tab and check for the school documents, you'll be able to find them there. Sorry, let me go ahead and scroll and see if there's any more questions. Looks like Kimberly, you said you had a question, but I'm not seeing yours. Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. Apologies for that. Okay, so if no one else has any questions, my contact information is on the screen. Please do reach out to me. I want to make sure I can help your school on an individual basis. Obviously, you all have individual needs when it comes to reopening and thinking about transportation, how that factors in specifically, right? Sustainable transportation and your students and staff. Also here to help staff, not just students. And really help support them and feel comfortable and a little better about riding and using any kind of this form of sustainable transportation. So I'm definitely here for that. As I mentioned, we have these commute with care to school materials. I will definitely make sure that they are shared in the follow-up email. And please stay tuned. I will be doing more webinars as the school year continues with more specific information on things that you might need to consider as you plan to reopen your school. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions. I've really enjoyed working with you. This has been really great. I want to make sure again, I'm just going to scroll through the questions one more time, make sure I didn't miss one that I had to answer. Okay, and okay, all right, I think I got them all. So again, thank you so much. This has been truly great. And I will be at EdFest. If any of you have children, I'll be there. So if you want to talk to me specifically, that'll be one way I'll be providing families support. Um, More individualized support. So EdFest will be virtual this year, so you can basically book like a 10-minute quick consultation with me, and I can answer questions. So I'll make sure to put that information out there that if your students and families have any questions about transportation, I will be at EdFest, and it will answer them, and so will my Kids Ride Free colleagues as well. So please make sure to visit our virtual booths this weekend, and I'll make sure to send out all this information to you via email. Thank you so much again. I hope this was very helpful to you. And please stay tuned as goDCgo School Services develops more and more materials to help you in your return to school. So thank you again. The contact information is there. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye.